Hey friends, glad to be back. Michael's joining me in studio today. We're going to be talking about doing a moral inventory as well as confession of the things that were done in the wake of being under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or pharmaceutical medication, getting real, getting truthful, and setting things right. Michael, great to have you in studio today. How you doing?
Ashley, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so yes, step 4, we made a fearless and searching moral inventory of ourselves.
Okay.
This is the step This is the step where a lot of people in recovery, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Okay.
This is where we put all the shame, guilt, fears, anger, resentments, the key word resentments. We put all of this on paper, which is all a result of some sort of fear, all right? And so we put all this on paper, and it's just like they say in the big book, it's like a very well-run company always does inventory. They take an inventory of what they have in their warehouse.
Okay.
How many pieces have we sold? How many pieces do we have left? And if there's a delta, if there's something missing, what role as a company owner play in that? Do we leave the back door unlocked? Does someone come in and steal it? Instead of just sitting back blaming it on the world, we got to figure out where those missing pieces are and the role that we play in it so we don't do it again. And that's all we look at. But here's the most important thing. The most important thing is before we go into step 4, we have to do step 3.
Right.
And let's make that decision, because now we are bringing God because I need God with me to address my fears. Because before God, I brought drugs and alcohol with me to make my fears go away. And that's why I'm on the show today, because it didn't work out. But that's what step 4 is.
You couldn't do it your way. You had to do it this way, right?
It got me a front row ticket to the penitentiary.
Right?
So
you're like, that didn't work very well.
And that's the power of how much God loves me. And He allows that things to happen. So what we do is on step 4 is the purpose of it is that I get to free myself of old patterns.
Okay.
Step 4, I get to really know who I am. Who am I really? Because I've been living a lie my whole life in my using career. I've been using and drinking, and I've had this delusional thinking and been thinking that the whole world is against me. I've been thinking that the whole world was sick and I was healthy. In step 4, I actually sit down and I write on paper all of my character defects, everybody that I'm mad at, all right? Everything that I'm fearful of. All my shame, my guilt, remorse, resentments towards institutions, people, places, things, anything that's a resentment, I write it down.
What about, I think oftentimes in this particular step, is this where people kind of get real about the things and the transgressions, maybe the sexual escapades, that type of thing that took place as well?
That's perfect. So what we do is, we do a sex inventory.
Okay.
We literally write down a sex inventory of, I'll use me as an example of, with a woman, and I look at it, and we do these steps with a sponsor.
Okay.
I recommend that men work with men, women work with women. I have a sponsor that's been sober since 1992.
Okay.
So I sit down with him and we walk through the sex inventory, and what we do is I look at what role I played in it, okay? All of them, it was because I was selfish, and it was all about me.
Okay.
And I had to look at that this is not where we make amends. This is where we're working on me.
Right.
We're working on me and getting all that trash out of my body and putting it on paper.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so this is before the fact that you go and you apologize or explain the situation. It's more like, hey, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to actually look at it, and I'm going to take an actual inventory and be straight up about the things that happened in the past.
Yes, and you've helped me with this, actually, is that, Michael, you've got to take care of you first. You've got to get you fixed first, okay? We got to get you, I have to be able to look at myself in the mirror and have that freedom of, I don't have any secrets. Step 4 is getting all the secrets out and putting them on paper to get that freedom.
Okay. And that's good because we have to do that with anything in life. I mean, I had to do that to get real with myself, even being in toxic relationships. I had to sit back and take a year hiatus off from dating anybody and figure out what is it within me that's bringing this type of energy or this type of frequency to me, because it's not just a one-way street. And
Right.
so you might not be, recovering from alcohol or drug addiction or what have you, but it could be something else. And it's about getting real and honest. And if you are, same thing applies as well.
Right. Right. So, for so many people will do steps 1 and 2, and then they start feeling better. This is about 60, 80, 90 days in sobriety. The dopamine levels are real high. You're feeling better. Sobriety is great. And then they get back out and they procrastinate the steps, and they go, you know what, I feel good. I don't need to look at my past behaviors because I feel good now. All right. But the dopamine levels start coming down, and we hit what's called the wall. The wall phase of recovery. And it's like, okay, let's sit down and look at step 4, and we don't want to do it because it's uncomfortable. So we get into step 4, and we realize, and here's the good thing is also, and I'm switching gears, on step 4, we also get to see our assets. We also get to look at what we're good at, because a lot of things is I'm a people pleaser. So one of my greatest character assets is people pleasing, but one of my worst character defects is people pleasing.
Right.
So the steps have taught me how they've literally taught me this. It's my job to carry the message, not the addict. Because if I carry the addict that doesn't want help, I go down with them.
It's interesting that you brought up the things that you're good at too, and I think a lot of times when we're in these situations, we're feeling low, we're not feeling, we haven't felt ourselves for a long time. We're unaware of the things that we actually do well as well.
That's right, and we need to look at that.
Yeah.
Every day when we go to bed, we can't get into ego, pride, and grandiosity, but we need to look at, there's days where I'll have a bad moment and I'll pat myself on the back and I'll go, you know what, I recognize that. I made amends to that person. Man, that's a good job. That's a victory. That's a victory check mark for me today. And because God does that. He gives us pats on the back. He wants us to love ourselves.
Right.
Okay? And he wants us to believe in the real self, our real life, who we really are, not in this delusional thinking fake life.
Right, exactly.
And so step 4, when you do step 3 correctly and you've truly made that decision and turned your will and life over to the care of God, step 4 is easy. It really is. Because you're going in there, you don't care because you got God with you. Because God knows what you did, but we clean it out. And that's why, and then we get into step 5, that's when we admitted to God and to ourselves the exact natures of our wrongs. Okay? And so what we do, and when we admit that, we sit down with another human being. It could be a therapist. It could be your sponsor. It could be a pastor, or rabbi, whatever it is. But you sit down with a trustworthy person that you can sit there and talk to, Ashley Berges, and say, hey, here's my 4th step and 4th and 5th step. I need to share it and get it out, because as a therapist, you know this. There is so much power in talking.
Yes.
The solution to fear is to talk about it for me. The solution to self-pity is to talk about it for me. That's why psychotherapy and group meetings of alcohol, for a bunch of alcoholics and addicts sitting in a room together, that group therapy is so powerful, because we can relate and we get it out. And I think everybody can relate, no matter what happens in your life. You're holding that little white lie in, that fear sets in. What's he going to think about me? And once I sit down and go, Ashley, I left the front door unlocked. And you go, no problem. I'm glad you told me. I was curious. I thought I was losing my mind. I thought I left the front door unlocked.
Right.
But so much relief. I was like, man, that felt good.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing at any level of confession. And that's what step 5 is for. It's confession.
Well, and secrets keep us what? It keeps us sick.
Keep us sick.
And it keeps us, disengaged and divided from other people, because we're scared of what's going to happen, when in reality, that's our mind playing tricks on us. Yeah, and if somebody was to not accept that, that's their own issue.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But when you're telling the truth, it's the truth has got to come out anyway, one way or another.
That's right.
But when we hold it back, it just divides us.
Right. And as an addict and alcoholic, okay, there's a 3-letter question that would drive me crazy. Michael, why? Why do you drink? Why do you do drugs? You got the world by the tail. You got all this stuff. You got this great life, and you have a wife, or you had a wife, whatever. You had this white picket fence. Why do you make these decisions? I couldn't answer them. Step 4 and 5 tells me why I did the things I do.
Why?
Well, why? It was fear.
Okay.
It was fear. Everything, my character defects are all results of fear. You know, fear, I've learned in recovery, fear is a healthy feeling. It's what I did with it that was unhealthy. When I get into fear, it's an opportunity for me to get closer to God.
Okay.
And so the solution for it is, if I get into fear, hey, Ashley, and we do this in real life, you know, hey, Ashley, this just happened to me. I'm in fear of this happening. And God will speak through another human being, speak through you, and you'll say something so simple, I'm like going, I was tripping. You know, I was like, I was in my head.
Right.
Thank you. The old me, the addict me, that fear comes in and I leave it in there. Then it turns into a resentment. And then the resentment turns into anger. The anger turns into rage. Rage turns into isolation. And then it turns into paranoia.
Okay.
And then that's relapse behaviors. You know, everything past resentment is all relapse behavior for me.
Okay.
And that's where the relapse happens. And when I relapse and drink or do drugs, the relapse is over.
So was the trigger for some people to relapse, is that trigger to go back and to hold that in and to get to that resentment level? Is that a trigger?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, is you know, a real life story is I hear something that was said about me that wasn't true.
Okay.
Okay. I get in a lot of fear that the whole world is going to be talking about me and not like me. That's my fear.
Okay.
Well, the reality is, fear is a lie. It doesn't exist.
Right.
No one knows about it. All right. But I build it up in my head, and maybe a month later, I'm drinking over it. And I don't realize it because I didn't process it healthy and do a 4th step on it. Okay. 4 steps, and I want everybody to understand this. The only step I have to do perfect today is step 1. All the other steps are we try our best every day to do it right. But the 4th step, there's no perfect way to do it. Just do it. Just put pen to paper and do it, because it's all about getting relief. Because there are people that have been clean and sober for 30, 40 years that are doing 4 steps today. It's very common to do numerous 4 steps. Okay? You're in the business as a therapist of listening to people's 4th and 5th steps. And that is very healthy. Doing steps 4 and 5 on a daily basis is very healthy. Because the steps are set up to eliminate Michael from having a resentment.
True.
I cannot have a resentment. If I have a resentment, I will die.
So it's about really getting it out there, being honest, and being able to hear yourself say it or write it down or communicate with a group of people that are also going through the same thing, and to sit there and understand. Because, like, I've talked about this on other videos before, where when we keep too much in our head, even if it's a grocery list, think about the last time you went to the grocery store, right? And you had 5 things in your head. Didn't you forget one? And then you buy something you didn't even need, and you get home and the main ingredient's you don't have it.
Right.
Well, think about that's what's going on in your mind at all times, and I like to consider that the broken record, where when it's kind of a negative and a fear-based thought process, it's a negative broken record that it takes us off target, it keeps us in fear, it has regret, also paranoia as well. What's going to happen? What's going to be said? How do they feel about me? Are they going to like me? All that stuff, and then what happens there? And then if there's that type of side, and that's a trigger, that could lead to something like that.
And you know, steps 4 and 5, it reminds me, if I have to review the past, I've got to take Ashley with me. I can't go do it alone.
Right.
I have to take someone who is very healthy, more healthy than I am, with me, because if I go into the past alone, all right, to get that freedom, that's the only reason why I'm going in the past, is to get that freedom. Now, once again, everybody, this is not about making amends. We're not saying sorry yet. Sorries are over. There's a whole different, we'll get there. That's 8 and 9. We're not even close yet. This is all about looking at M2, putting all of my fears, resentments, anger, self-pity, guilt, shame, remorse, sex inventory. I put all of that on paper, and at first I said, well, good, because I'm going to tell you why I drank. And what happened was the program told me it was about me. It showed me that I'm selfish. I'm selfish, and it was all about me. And I have to look at what role I play in each thing. even to the people who did me wrong, and it was wrong. For being sexually molested, I had to look at what role I played in that.
Right.
You know how hard that is?
Really
it's
hard.
It's hard, but you can't do it alone. And you cannot go into step 4 without doing it without bringing God into it. There's no way. There's no way. And so that's real, live, deep, dark secrets that you share in step 5 with a therapist like Ashley Berges or a sponsor. That's why it's so important for a sponsor to have long periods of sobriety, because that sponsor is going to sit there and he's going to love you, because it's not about the incident. It's about how it's affecting you today.
How do you, going back to that, how do you deal with a situation for anybody that's watching this right now who was molested or taken advantage of? How do you get to that part of accepting that?
True acceptance has no resentments.
Okay.
True acceptance has no resentments. And right there, that is where the way I look at it is that this person that did this was a sick person, was a very sick person, as I was once too, all right? And it's my job to forgive that person. I have to forgive them and treat them like a sick person. This person did the best he could with the tools that were given to him, all right? We don't know what happened to this person. We don't know if that was done to him.
Okay.
You know, we don't know that, but all I know is this, is that we serve an incredible, loving God, and there's a reason why it happened. And the reason why, once I let go of that and truly let go of that and forgave him, God started putting people in my path that struggle with the same thing, so I was able to help them, which helps me.
Well, and my side to that is it's very hard for me to sometimes wrap my brain around that, but what I have wrapped my brain around is the fact that when we don't forgive these situations and we don't let things happen, unfortunately, it just hurts us. And so when somebody hurts us and does something horrible to us, until we let that go and forgive it, it's going to hold us back. And that's my intention of letting it go. And I think if you look at it from that standpoint too, it makes it a little easier to deal with it in the fact that we don't want somebody's bad stuff to hold us back in our life from doing great stuff.
That's right. And it's okay to sit there and ask God, why does this happen? Why did this happen to me?
Right.
You know, it's not okay. It's not okay. I'm not justifying the action at all, but it's the way that I handled it that's not okay.
Right.
You know, there's a way to handle it the godly way, the healthy way, and if I handle it M2's way, it just makes everything so much worse.
Well, but because also the sad thing is that awful thing happened to you, but yet the internalization of that and then hurting yourself more with drugs and alcohol, when in reality the last thing that you needed to be doing was hurting yourself more based on what somebody else's horrible actions were.
That's right. And it was the tools that was given to me. I didn't have the tools on how to handle this.
Right.
You know.
Well, most people don't.
Yeah. And so, but I do today. I do today, and I'm able to give that away. Today, I don't have any resentments, and it's so freeing.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
So freeing, and it's because of steps 4 and 5.
So a couple of thoughts that you have to leave with our viewers right now that can really help them if they're in this position.
Well, it's to take the risk. I mean, we got to take the risk and step out there and get honest with yourself. This is not a mean monster. This step 4 is not to expose that we're bad people.
Right.
It's to expose that we're a sick person. And once we expose how sick we are, then Ashley Berges can help me. But if I come in here and I'm not talking and I'm not saying anything, no one can help me.
No.
But once I expose all this out there, now the person that I trust can help me. And usually at the end of the day, it's like, it wasn't that big a deal. But over a long period of time, I've played it in my head so long that I've made it such a very toxic, black, dark, deep ordeal. And at the end of the day, once I look at it on paper and talk to you about it, I'm like, why was I so upset about that? You know?
Yeah.
But my advice is to it sounds cliche, but that's to get honest and trust God. Just take risk. Just don't think about taking risk and don't think about the next month. Just take risk for 1 hour. Just get out of self for 1 hour and put stuff on paper.
I like that.
Yeah, just try it. Just 1 hour. That's realistic. I can see that. Okay, I get that. I'll give you an hour. Try it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So I'll see you back next week.
Next week, same time. Same bat channel.
I love it. I love it. I love the hat, by the way,
Oh,
too.
thanks.
That's awesome.
M2.
I love that. So you've heard it here, and I think this is really good information. You know, we've got to get it out, and in order to get that stuff out of your mind and to put it down on paper and to think about it and let somebody else that can actually help you in, you've got to be honest. You've got to be straightforward with it. And we all have a tendency of judging ourselves, putting this stuff in our head and thinking that nobody will want to hear this. It'll be the worst stuff that's ever been said. People will judge us. It's just not true when you're with the right people, because the right people have either they've heard it before, or they've been through it themselves, and they're not judging. This particular channel is a judgment-free zone. Everything that I do in my life is judgment-free. I think you can attest to that.
Yep.
And that's just the way good people that really care about other people live their life, and that's how people want to help. So get it out there, even if it's just writing some thoughts down, or maybe surrounding yourself with an accountability group, or getting involved with another support type group, or seeing a therapist or counselor can really help you. Thank you, Michael, for coming in.
Thank you.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and also write some comments below this video letting us know some things that you really took in, some things that maybe you've gone through, as well as some experiences that you've had too, overcoming drugs, alcohol, pharmaceutical drugs, even toxic relationships, or anything that's held you back in your life. Stay tuned. There'll be new videos coming out, and by the way, don't forget to live your true life.